Hello and welcome to the Lazy Book Club podcast, the book club for those who don't want to read or leave the house. My name is Matt Gonzalez.
Oh, it's David Cox.
Good. And I'm Josh Matheson.
Oh, I love a Lulu entrance. Great
Very
entrance. Yeah.
You know, when there's something going in your head, you're like, this, I don't know what's about to come out.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most iconic intros ever in a song, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Has to be. Well, this week we are looking at chapter 3 of Treasure Island, which is The Black Spot.
Indeed.
Now, up to this point, we have met Billy
Bones.
Billy
Him.
Bones.
But then at one point he said, "That's not my name." So I was confused.
But they call him the captain. So he's been hiding out at this inn, and one of his old friends, or apparent old friends, the Black Dog, turned up last week. They had a heated exchange, and the captain ran him out of the pub, and the Black Dog went running off. And then the captain seemed to have some kind of stroke or seizure or traumatic fainting episode. And the doctor came, and basically with terrible bedside manner went, yeah, he's going to die. I told him he was going to die. It's all his fault.
He basically treated him like a radiator, didn't he?
He did.
I'll just put this key in, and it'll be right as rain tomorrow. You'll have heating throughout the house.
Yeah, and what he actually did was intentionally drain him of so much blood that he wouldn't be able to get out of bed for the next 2 weeks, because he obviously just doesn't like him. And that's where we've kind of left off, isn't it? The captain's in bed. Everybody's kind of happy that he's not shouting and getting drunk. And we know that his old pirate buddies have found him.
That's right.
Or, well, that's what the apparent thing is. They may have found him. Well, we've got another little illustration before the start of the chapter.
Oh, it's a pointed stick.
It's a man, with a stick pointing.
He looks like he's got a blindfold on.
Is that a woman in the corner, or is that just someone with long hair?
No, I think
like
Jim.
in this time. Oh,
I think
they're
that's
doing
Jim.
a pinata. Oh, that's fun.
Is he like?
Find it.
Has he got his eyes covered? Is this meant to be like a walking stick, like a blind man?
I think it's a blind man.
Yeah, blind man.
My guess would be it's a blind man.
He does look like he's kind of feeling around the room with his stick. He's not like using it under him. Do you know what I mean? Like to walk with. Okay, well, let's see. We'll find out.
Chapter 3. The Black Spot. About noon, I stopped at the captain's door with some cooling drinks and medicines. He was lying very much as we had left him, only a little higher, and he seemed both weak and excited. "Jim," he said, "you're the only one here that's worth anything. And you know, I've been always good to you. Never a month, but I've given you a silver fourpenny for yourself. And now you see me, mate. I'm pretty low and deserted by all, and Jim, you'll bring me one noggin of rum, now won't you, matey?"
Ever the alcoholic. Like, it's not like, get me out of here, not, get rid of the people who are finding me or looking after me. Just get me a drink. Get me a drink, I'll be fine.
He'll say anything for a little noggin of rum.
That's definitely an alcoholic.
Oh, I'm going to ask for a noggin.
A noggin.
A noggin. What do you
Next
think?
time you're in the pub, just a noggin for me, please. Thanks.
Well, on your noggin's normally like your head. So is that like a head-sized cup of rum?
Good grief.
That'd be quite a lot.
That's quite a lot. I was thinking it was a small measure.
Well, normally it would be, but I mean, he is an alcoholic, so who knows?
It's true.
A small quantity of spirits. So
isn't that something we've had before, where someone was like, "Oh, he had something as the size of a schoolboy's head or something"? It was 39 steps. It was like another weird measurement that they gave.
We should make a little list of obscure measurements.
Yes, we should, for baking purposes.
Yeah. Almost as sort of vague as a cup of chocolate chip,
A
noggin of flour.
Yeah.
A schoolboy head of butter.
Sorry, American listeners. I'm sorry. It doesn't make sense.
It's confusing.
It's got to be finite if you want to make good food. Am I right?
True. Yes.
The doctor, I began, but he broke in, cursing the doctor, in a feeble voice but heartily. "Doctors is all swabs," he said. "And that doctor there, why, What do we know about seafaring men? I've been in places hot as pitch and mates dropping round with Yellow Jack, and the blessed land a-heaving like the sea with earthquakes. What to the doctor know lands like that? And I lived on rum, I tell you. It's been meat and drink and man and wife to me. And if I'm not to have my rum now, I'm a poor old hulk on a lee shore. My blood'll be on you, Jim, and that doctor swab. And he ran on again for a while with curses. Look, Jim, how my fingers fidges, he continued in a pleading tone. I can't keep 'em still, not I. I haven't had a drop this blessed day. That doctor's a fool, I tell you. If I don't have a dram of rum, Jim, I'll have the horrors. I seen some of them already. I seen old Flint in the corner there, behind you, as plain as print I seen him. And if I get the horrors, I'm a man that has lived rough, and I'll raise Cain. Your doctor himself said one glass wouldn't hurt me. I'll give you a golden guinea for a noggin, Jim. He was growing more and more excited, and this alarmed me, for my father, who was very low that day and needed quiet besides, I was reassured by the doctor's words now quoted to me, and rather offended by the offer of a bribe. I want none of your money, said I, but what you owe of my father. I'll get you one glass and no more. When I brought it to him, he seized it greedily and drank it out. Aye, said he, that's some better, sure enough. And now, matey, did that doctor say how long I was to lie here in this old berth? A week at least, said I. Thunder! A week? I can't do that. They'd have the black spot on me by then. The lubbers is going about to get the wind of me this blessed moment. Lubbers is couldn't keep what they got and want to nail what is another's. It's that seamanly behaviour now I want to know. But I'm a saving soul. I never wasted good money of mine or lost it neither. And I'll trick him again. I'm not afraid on him. I'll shake out another reef, matey, and daddle him again. As he was thus speaking, he had risen from bed with great difficulty, holding to my shoulder with a grip that almost made me cry out, and moving his legs like so much dead weight. His words, spirited as they were in meaning, contrasted sadly with the weakness of his voice in which they were uttered. He paused. When he had got into a sitting position on the edge, that doctor's done me, he murmured. My ears is singing. Let me back. Before I could do much to help him, he had fallen back again to his former place, where he lay for a while, silent. Jim, he said at length, you saw that seafaring man today? Black Dog? I asked. Ah, Black Dog, says he. He's a bad un, but there's worse that put him on. Now, if I can't get away nohow, and they tip me the black spot, mind you, it's my old sea chest they're after. You get on a horse. You can, can't you? Well then, you get on a horse and go to, well, yes, I will, to that eternal Dr. Swab, and tell him to pipe all hands, magistrates and sich, and he'll lay 'em aboard at the Admiral Benbow. All old Flint's crew, man and boy, all on 'em that's left. I was first mate, I was. Old Flint's first mate, and I'm the only one as knows the place. He gave it me at Savannah, when he lay a-dying, like as if I was to now, you see. But you won't peach unless they get the black spot on me, or unless you see that Black Dog again, or a seafaring man with one leg, Jim. Him above all.
So he's saying he was the first mate of the ship.
Captain Flint.
Yeah,
Captain
of
Flint.
Captain Flint.
Yeah.
and that he's the only person who knows where something is.
Yeah.
So the captain's gone, this is where this is, dead. Okay, now he's the only person. So do you think that's probably what they're on the run from? Because they're after this sea chest or the treasure or whatever.
I'm going to go out there on a limb. It's a bold claim, but I think they might be talking about Treasure Island.
Yeah.
No, that's impossible.
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
where did that come from? You pulled that out of the ether.
They need to build up to that. It could. This is the start mission. Is that the side mission?
I mean,
a chest full of rum.
By the way he's going on about it, I wouldn't be surprised. He's proper going cold turkey, though, isn't he? The captain.
He really is.
He's like
the cold sweat.
Yeah. I also just love the fact that he just knows that the doctor's to blame. Like, even though he was passed out and didn't know, like, he knows that the doctor's done something to him that's made him like end up bedridden. Which is it's just quite funny. It's just quite amusing. I hope we find out what this black spot means. I have a feeling. I think we're coming up to it now, aren't we?
It seems like that's the next bit of action to unfold.
Crescendo.
But what is the black spot, Captain? I asked. That's a summons, mate. I'll tell you if they get that. But you keep your weather eye open, Jim, and I'll share with you equals, upon my honour. He wondered a little longer, his voice growing weaker, but soon after I had given him his medicine, which he took like a child, with the remark, "If ever a seaman wanted drugs, it's me." He fell at last into a heavy, swoon-like sleep, in which I left him. What I should have done, had all gone well, I do not know. Probably I should have told the whole story to the doctor, for I was in mortal fear lest the captain should repent of his confessions and make an end of me. But as things fell out, my poor father died quite suddenly that evening, which put all other matters on one side.
Yeah, fair.
Our natural distress, the visits of the neighbours, the arranging of the funeral, and all the work of the inn to be carried on in the meanwhile, kept me so busy that I had scarcely time to think of the captain, far less to be afraid of him. He got downstairs next morning, to be sure, and had his meals as usual, though he ate little and had more, I am afraid, than his usual supply of rum, for he helped himself out of the bar, scowling and blowing through his nose, and no one dared to cross him. On the night before the funeral, he was as drunk as ever, and it was shocking in that house of mourning to hear him singing away at his ugly old sea-song. But weak as he was, we were all in the fear of death for him, and the doctor was suddenly taken up with a case many miles away, and was never near the house after my father's death. I have said the captain was weak, and indeed he seemed rather to grow weaker than regain his strength. He clambered up and down stairs, and went from the parlour to the bar and back again, and sometimes put his nose out of doors to smell the sea, holding on to the walls as he went for support, and breathing hard and fast like a man on a steep mountain. He never particularly addressed me, and it is my belief he had as good as forgotten his confidences, but his temper was more flighty, and allowing for his bodily weakness more violent than ever.
Is he still paying? I'm just a bit worried.
I don't think he was ever paying, really, was he? I mean, I imagine he turned through his initial money a long time ago.
He's not put his room against a card anytime he gets rum.
He had an alarming way now, when he was drunk, of drawing his cutlass and laying it bare before him on the table. But with all that, he minded people less, and seemed shut up in his own thoughts and rather wandering. Once, for instance, to our extreme wonder, he piped up to a different air, a kind of country love song that he must have learned in his youth before he had begun to follow the sea. So things passed until the day after the funeral, and about 3 o'clock of a bitter, foggy, frosty afternoon, I was standing at the door for a moment, full of sad thoughts about my father, when I saw someone drawing slowly near along the road. He was plainly blind, for he tapped before him with a stick, and wore a great green shade over his eyes and nose. And he was hunched, as if with age or weakness, and wore a huge old tattered sea cloak with a hood that made him appear positively deformed. I never saw in my life a more dreadful-looking figure. He stopped a little from the inn, and raising his voice in an odd sing-song, addressed the air in front of him. And then we need a voice for the blind man.
Can we do Frank Spencer?
Who?
Frank Spencer.
Oh, Betty! Oh, Betty! That one. I just want it to be...
let's carry on, is it? No. Is that carry on?
That's it. No, it's Some Mothers Do Have 'Em.
Some others do have them. Thank you.
Yeah.
Could you want me to do an oh, Betty?
Oh, Betty, it's very, very worry the whole time.
Yeah, but like with a little bit of an old creak. When I cheered earlier about him being blind, it was about being right. I'm not cheering just because someone was blind.
I thought we were just being very supportive of the blind. We've got a blind character. Yeah.
Or even that, just like, he was blind. He serves him right. That horrible blinder.
Will any kind friend inform a poor blind man who has lost his precious sight of his eyes in the gracious defence of his native country, England? And God bless King George, where or in what part of this country he may now be.
I just love that he's like giving his life story. Like, just say, can anyone just let me know where I am? I'm blind. Like, I don't need to know how you lost your sight, or like, you don't have to bless the king. Just ask the question.
You were at the Admiral Benbow, Black Hill Cove, my good man, said I. I hear a voice, said he.
Yeah, someone's talking to you. Like, it's not...
Should be used to that by now.
Apparition.
A young voice. Will you give me your hand, my kind young friend, and lead me in? I held out my hand, and the horrible, soft-spoken, eyeless creature gripped it in a moment like a vice. I was so much startled that I struggled to withdraw, but the blind man pulled me close up to him with a single action of his arm. Now, boy, he said, take me in to the captain. Sir, said I, upon my word I dare not. Oh, he sneered. That's it. Take me in straight or I'll break your arm.
Oh, wow.
And he gave it, as he spoke, a wrench that made me cry out. Sir, said I, it is for yourself, I mean. The captain is not what he used to be. He sits with a drawn cutlass. Another gentleman... Come now. March, interrupted he, and I never heard a voice so cruel and cold and ugly as that blind man's. It cowed me more than the pain, and I began to obey him at once, walking straight in at the door and towards the parlour, where our sick old buccaneer was sitting, dazed with rum. The blind man clung close to me, holding me in one iron fist and leaning almost more of his weight on me than I could carry. Lead me straight up to him, and when I'm in view, cry out, he's a friend for you, Bill. If you don't, I'll do this. And with that, he gave me a twitch that I thought would have me faint. Between this and that, I was so utterly terrified of the blind beggar that I forgot my terror of the captain, and as I opened the parlour door, cried out the words he had ordered in a trembling voice. The poor captain raised his eyes, and at one look the rum went out of him and left him staring sober.
Does that mean he threw up everywhere, or does that mean that he suddenly just sobered up?
No, I think it's, that one of those sobering moments when you're a little bit tipsy and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm okay now.
Right.
You just realise you've lost your bank card or something like that.
Yeah, and all of a sudden.
Okay.
Which has never happened to me.
I think it would be funnier if he took one
Abroad.
look at him and just hurled everywhere.
That would
So I
be
brought a
quite
friend to you. Who is it?
The expression of his face was not so much of terror as of mortal sickness. He made a movement to rise, but I do not believe he had enough force left in his body. "Now, Bill, sit where you are," said the beggar. "If I can't see, I can hear a finger stirring. Business is business. Hold out your left hand. Boy, take his left hand by the wrist and bring it near to my right." We both obeyed him to the letter, and I saw him pass something from the hollow of the hand that held his stick into the palm of the captain's, which closed upon it instantly. "And now that's done," said the blind man, and at the words he suddenly left hold of me, and with incredible accuracy and nimbleness skipped out of the parlour and into the road, where, as I still stood motionless, I could hear his stick go tap, tap, tapping into the distance.
Is that where he would have a tap number, just kind of like off down the street?
It's the chim chimney, chim chimney.
Yeah. I just love how it's just the sudden change, just like all serious, all business. Right, that's done. Okay, right. See you later, guys. Pleasure to
Bye.
do business with you. Bye.
Maybe he's just
You
an
can imagine
actor.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can imagine he then goes a few streets down and then turns around the corner and then adopts the same old position.
Yeah.
Again.
No,
Right,
honestly,
here's another one.
I think he's a service. You just go like, "Hi, what would you like?" I would like a Valentine's message delivered to my partner. Okay, and then he just turns up and he's like, "I would like to." Then he does that. It's like, "Hi, I need some foreboding message.
I need
sent to
someone
somebody."
scared
Alright.
by a hat.
And then he just turns into this thing.
He's got a bag full of costumes.
Trying to think what else he could do, and then to earn a bit more money, he just does the Hermes driver and he just leaves it in uncompromising positions and takes photos of it.
Is this just the really early version of being served? You know, like when people get served subpoenas and stuff like that, and people like pretend to be other people in order to get close to the person. Like,
You just got served. I'm
Yeah.
guessing it's like the pirate equivalent of that.
yeah, that's it. Is,
Kissogram.
isn't
A kissogram. It was some time before either I or the captain seemed to gather our senses, but at length, and about at the same moment, I released his wrist, which I was still holding, and he
Awkward.
drew in his hand and looked sharply into the palm. 10 o'clock, he cried. 6 hours. We'll do them yet. And he sprang to his feet. Even as he did so, he reeled, put his hand to his throat, stood swaying for a moment, and then, with a peculiar sound, fell from his whole height, face foremost on the floor.
Ooh.
I ran to him at once, calling to my mother, but haste was all in vain. The captain had been struck dead by thundering apoplexy. It's a curious thing to understand, for I had certainly never liked the man, though of late I had begun to pity him, but as soon as I saw that he was dead, I burst into a flood of tears. It was the second death I had known, and the sorrow of the first was still fresh in my heart. End of chapter.
I thought the Black Death was like, oh no, the Black Death.
Spot.
Sorry, the Black Spot was like
Black Death
a
was
thing
worse.
of like, was like, we're gonna come for you.
Well, I
But,
think
like,
that's
he
what they
just
put
seemed-
in his hand.
Yeah, but he just seemed to die straight away. I was like, is this some kind
Yeah,
of
but
like
I think is that,
viral weapon or something?
No, I think it's a bit of a
Anthrax,
self-fulfilling
yeah.
prophecy, isn't it? Like, if you've got this, because pirates are famously superstitious, aren't they? So if you've got the superstition that if you're given the black spot, your death's
Dying.
coming for you,
Yeah.
then
He's
you
all-
might just give up the ghost.
they've set up that he's already weak and ill because
Yeah.
alcohol and not much blood.
Yeah.
So a bit
Fair.
of a shock might put you over the edge.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it looked like he was like ready to fight. He's like going 10 o'clock, right? 6 hours, we'll do them yet. Like, so he's obviously gone, right, the black spot means I've got 6 hours until they come for me. I'm gonna rally and go out on my feet fighting. And then he just fell over dead.
Yeah.
It's too much excitement for him.
I mean, the doctor did say more rum is going to kill you.
Yeah. It's almost like this guy had a biological weapon on him or something, and he just shook hands with him and poisoned him at the same time.
They did a Litvinenko, didn't they, with the umbrella? Like, that's what happened.
Josh looks really confused.
What?
That's how
The Salisbury murder.
No,
that was a different one. That was a different one.
Litvinenko got
he got stabbed with an umbrella, and the Russian
polonium
agents poisoned
210.
him. Yeah,
He basically got like if you've ever seen Chernobyl, got
yeah. But the other one was the other one that happened in Salisbury was also Russia as well, wasn't it? Yeah, and they perfumed like the person, and then they threw it in the bin, and then some the pastor found it, and they ended up dying as well. Like, it's just shocking work, really. Russia, sort it out. Come on. Right, so we've got the captain dead, but obviously the pirates don't know that, so the pirates are probably still going to turn up at the Bembo Inn and come looking for him, I'm guessing, right?
People are coming. People are.
They know they're there. I'm really disappointed at. I'm just disappointed at that Jim said you're at the Admiral Bembo, because I just wanted to know a world where this would be what Monty Python did, where the blind guy got the wrong pub.
Yeah,
just like
that
the black spot to, like,
some random guy.
If I was going to do my own version, maybe a bit like play the play that goes wrong or something. That's what I would do.
Yeah,
and
then it's like some guy called Alan has just gotten completely like wrapped up in this pirate world, and all he was doing was down the pub supporting Arsenal.
I did. I know it's going off a bit. I did that in a play once. So like I was, there was a show on at the Lost Theatre in Vauxhall.
Yeah, near there,
and two people were sick, and someone called me. It was like, you know the show, don't you? You've been to see it a few times, because it was some pals from college.
Because that constitutes knowing it.
Well, honestly, I did like a 2-hour rehearsal just to learn some of like the harmonies and stuff. It wasn't like a big part, and I think they managed to sort of cover it in other places, but there was other bits they couldn't do. And one of the parts that no one else could do was I had to play. So it was a World War II drama, and it was a really poignant moment because I delivered a message from the battleground that their husband had died. So all I had to do, and I can't remember. Let's imagine she's called Mrs. Stevenson. And so I walk on, it's really, really poignant. And they come on. And I think the audience know up to this point, it's that sort of like, but she's the only one that doesn't know. And they're in this like village hall. I walk up and I gave it to the wrong woman. Because I thought,
the woman like, thank you, but that's his wife over there.
Emily hadn't rehearsed that part, and they were like, "Oh yes, yeah, you got to do the letter. You know what you do? Yeah." It says you go on and you give it to her, and I was like, "It's Robin, isn't it? Robin's Mrs. Stevenson."
That's amazing.
The audience laughed. It was like a no, they didn't know, but like I literally saw them on stage, and I just turned and went to the other person. And I went, Mrs. Stevenson. And I could see like everyone, because it was such a poignant moment, but I could see everyone else just going.
Everyone's shoulders start going and like trying to hold it in. That's brilliant.
Because in fairness, we hadn't rehearsed it, and I was just like, hang on, which one's that? Because I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just getting the surname here.
It's all these little things that always get missed when you get someone thrown in. It's never the big things that go wrong in a theatre show. It's always the little things. I was like, no one actually told me that I meant to go from that slat rather than that one, or nobody told me that the ring is in this place on the prop table, or do you know what I mean? It's like, it was always the little things that fall through the gap. That's so good. Oh, well, is it time to play the game?
I mean, I think it's probably a good time to play the game. The game being, guess what the next chapter's called?
And it's definitely David. I remember going first last time.
Mm-hmm. So I'm always on odd number, if just in case we're like,
that's a good way of remembering.
So if it's odd, it's me, because I'm the oddest. The next chapter is called A Knock on the Door.
Oh, that sounds like it could be a chapter title in this book.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for, because obviously there's a lot of unanswered questions have been left, and the captain's now dead, and Jim and his mum probably want answers. So I'm gonna go with like opening Billy's chest.
Yeah,
Like not his
Good.
actual chest, like the treasure chest. Billy's
It sounded
treasure
like
chest.
a euphemism. Billy's
Yeah.
chest.
Could you imagine? Like they don't just cut him open. I mean, like physically opening the chest. Like they're gonna rifle through his things.
We're just being facetious.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's the way you said it was a little bit suggestive, and I enjoyed it.
Well,
greatly.
so having a good old snoop.
Good. Well, were I to be in the habit of dishing out points, which I'm not, I'd probably throw some at in your direction, Matt, because chapter 4 is entitled "The Sea Chest."
Yeah.
That would be if we were doing Pinocchio points. I think that would be like 0.8 or something.
Yeah, it'd be pretty close if I was doing.
Which is basically a million points.
Yeah.
Well, do you know why? I think because unlike that book, actually, the chapters kind of give you a desire to read the next chapter because it's like, oh, that's going to happen, rather than just like tell you everything's going to happen.
Pinocchio chapters were bonkers, whereas these at least has got somewhat logical.
And I promise, I did not look at the chapter ahead. I just kind of literally thought, if I was in Jim's position and this guy had died, what would I do? I would totally go through his things.
All right.
I would. Yeah. Well, also, if he knows you money as well, you'd be like, well, let's see if he's got any valuables hidden, because let's face it, he's got a massive bar bill that needs paying.
Let's shake him down for all his work.
Exactly that. That was my logic. Oh, okay. The sea chest. Nice. I look forward to hearing that. So if you've got any thoughts or opinions on this chapter, you can message us on thelazybookclub@gmail.com.
Or if you'd like to suggest ways that you could deliver news in a fun and inventive way via the medium of posts, you can do so at Twitter. And our handle, as it is ever was and ever would be, is at Lazy Book Club Pod.
What? Okay, good. Yeah. I'd love somebody in the same sort of style as the liney illustrations in this book to draw a picture of David giving the message to the wrong Mrs. Stevens and post it on Instagram. At Lazy Book Club Pod.
Please.
We're also on Patreon, where for the very small fee of $3 a month, you get an extra episode as well as access to the videos where you'll get to see those illustrations as well. So on the next episode, we will be reading chapter 4, The Sea Chest. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.